Let's do a quick video here. Haven't done a DIY fix-it video for quite some time, but now's the time. This is an old Troy-Bilt 4-cycle string trimmer that I've had for years, probably 15 years. Bought it from a friend of mine. It was used, and honestly, every year I think I'm going to get rid of this thing and replace it with some cool lightweight steel. It just keeps working, and that's what's going on here. So the other day I was cutting some grass, trimming up, working it pretty hard, and all of a sudden it kind of made a weird noise, and when I let off the throttle, the string was still spinning. It would never stop. So that's a clutch problem, and I have a part on order, but I had to finish up the job, so I bolted it back together and finished up the job, and it still works. So it just doesn't stop, which is fine when you're working, but if you want to adjust the string length and all that, you need to stop, and for safety reasons. But like I said, I've had quite a bit of good luck with this thing. Haven't had a whole lot of problems. I replaced the fuel lines years ago, and the fuel bulb cracked. I mean, that's basically it. And then every now and then I have to clean this switch out. You got to pull it apart and kind of clean it out. It's not a sealed switch, and it gets a bunch of junk and dirt in there. So I'm going to show you real quick how to get into this and check out the clutch. Alright, so the first thing you're going to need is a T20 Torx, and that pretty much takes care of the majority of the maintenance on this thing. If you want to get into the covers and all the other accessories, the switches, anything like that, pretty much takes the same size, so it makes it really easy. And then there's a couple underneath here, very basic. Pop those out and I'll show you what's going on next. That right there is the clutch. So once you pull the front off, those 4 bolts, 4 screws, that exposes the clutch. It's right here. It also has the same size screw in there. You need to figure out a way to stop that. I usually put a screwdriver in behind. There's a little fan back there. You got to be kind of careful. Don't break anything, but just kind of block it in with that. That'll give it something to stop against. But this right here has a screw in there as well. Once you break it loose, you're good to go. It doesn't take much usually. And that comes off. Okay, so now that we got the clutch housing off of there, the outside part with a bolt, keep the bolt inside of it. Set that aside. You can see the problem right here. I'll show you. Needs 2 springs. It's missing 1. I pulled that out of there, and then I was able to finish the job, so I didn't want that spinning around and hanging up and breaking other things. So I pulled that off. It just doesn't have enough spring pressure to keep the clutch disengaged when it's idling. So yeah, a new one of these is like $8 on Amazon, the whole thing, and I really only need the spring. So what I might do is just put a new spring on it and call it a day. Alright, so it's been a couple of days. I've got the part in that I needed to fix this clutch, and I actually assembled it. I didn't film it, I'm sorry, but it wasn't that eventful. So here's what I did. All I needed was, and here's the old shoes right here, spring, and then the other spring had broken on the actual machine. So that was just binding up, wasn't working right. So all I did was take a needle nose pliers and pull the springs off of the new one. I just pulled one of the springs off, and then of course this came right off really easily, and so I did the same thing. I essentially just took one of the springs off, and I was able to slide the new drums around it and reattach the spring just with some needle nose. If you want to get the clutch out, which I didn't, if this doesn't work, which I don't know why it wouldn't, the parts are all the same. This is the only other new part, and it's the exact same thing. So if you want to get this clutch out of here, it actually unthreads. It's a threaded hole as I saw in the new one. So to do that, what you have to do is take the spark plug out and then put some rope down in there into the cylinder, kind of feed some in there, and then the piston will bind up against that, and then you can unscrew it. It's really the only way to do it. You can get a wrench on here and just unscrew it. But that part's not broken. I don't need to get to the starter rope here, so I'm not going to mess with it. If I ever have to get to the starter rope, if something breaks there, then I'll have to get this clutch off of here, and I'll do it then. But for now, I'm not going to waste any time. I still have the part. If for some reason that doesn't work, which I can literally slide this onto the old ones. So we're gonna, I think, yeah, the old one slides on there perfectly. It fits fine. So I'm gonna reassemble this thing and get it working and see if it actually works right. And we're gonna give it a little test here in a second. So I'm gonna assemble it and get it back into service. Okay, moment of truth. I also cleaned out the switch, so we'll see if that works too. Put some gas in it. Well, the kill switch works good.